Hi, I'm Dorothy Gable, and this is the Biblical Dementia Caregiving channel. Today I will highlight the 5 habits of successful caregivers. This is a quick look at the top 5 attitudes and actions of effective caregivers. While my focus and examples center around caregiving for a loved one with dementia, this video can also be applied to other caregiving situations. If you found this video helpful, click the like and don't forget to subscribe. This information is provided to help you find creative solutions to care for your loved one, but it is no substitute for medical care. If you notice a serious incident or drop in function, see a medical professional. This is part of the job of a primary caregiver, ensuring that your loved one has all the resources they need. Number 1, accept and allow yourself to grieve. We will not seek treatment if we have not acknowledged and accepted the reality of a condition. Denial can occur with friends and family, as for many reasons we overlook, rationalize, deny the existence of dementia in a loved one. After all, they're so smart, so capable, so you can fill in the blank for how your loved one had been. These diseases are slow-moving, long-term, and spread slowly through the brain. In the beginning stages, many cognitive abilities are only slightly impacted. It takes years for these diseases to run their course, where a loved one will someday be unable to respond to life around them. It can be hard to consider dementia in a loved one when they can engage in lucid conversation over the phone for an hour or so. When we do not acknowledge dementia's existence, we often try to help them return to the way they used to be. If dementia is present, this will be a frustrating, fruitless attempt. At the same time, our loved one is also struggling to function at the previous levels. Many hide cognitive errors, write notes, develop workarounds, cover up, and never admit the problem. Trying to identify the causes, urging our loved one to see a doctor for diagnosis, offering to help might not be warmly received. What do? Educate ourselves of what dementia looks like, its signs, and try to discover the diseases that could be causing these symptoms. If it's clear our loved one has greater cognitive difficulties more than normal brain aging, it's time to accept the reality. Our loved one has dementia. Alongside this acknowledgement of reality is allowing ourselves to grieve along the way. For while our loved one has not vanished, has not been stolen, their personhood, their humanity remains, we have to let go of the former ways of being together and embrace the new reality. They will act differently as they progress through the stages. We need to acknowledge these feelings of loss. I experienced this with more than one relative, as I was not able to take my grandmother shopping. We could not walk the malls and enjoy a lunch together at a restaurant. I grieved for my loss while trying to discover the activities we could do together. With my mother's dementia, as she transitioned to the late stages, I mourned her losses for her as well as for myself. Number 2, educate yourself. Learn all you can about treatments, caregiving solutions, the disease progression, and local resources, including residential facilities. For while it might seem impossible that your loved one's personality would one day switch to mean and nasty, that they would wander throughout the day or night, that they would be given to outbursts of accusation and hitting, that they would not recognize you for who you are to them, that they would lose track of the decade in which they are living, sometimes thinking they are in their 30s and raising a family, this could become your loved one's reality in the future. My mother's actions would sometimes puzzle me. I was better able to help her when I heard from the aides at her assisted living facility that her latest behavior was normal. They all do that. Instead of focusing on how my mother would cut up pieces of paper and pile them around her chair, creating a tripping hazard, yet refused to let me clean them up, I was able to move forward to find a solution that would work for her. Here is one example. My mother would forget where the bathroom was, leading to accidents. She would wear protective undergarments if someone was there to help her dress, but if on her own, would always reach for her regular underpants. One day, while we chatted, as I put away her summer clothes and brought out her winter garments, I removed her underpants and filled the drawer with her new undergarments. I left with the bag, and she never complained or asked what had happened to her underpants. Learning how others helped their loved ones in similar situations helped me devise creative solutions that help both of us cope. Upset that my mother was asking to go somewhere and she couldn't really describe the place in any way that made sense, and seemed distraught during my visits, I shared my frustration with coworkers. One related a story of a man who took his wife for a drive through their neighborhood to calm her. Although this seemed irrational, you go for a ride for a reason, I gave it a try. It worked. This helped calm her until she declined to the point she could no longer handle riding in a car. Number 3, develop a caregiver mindset. We have history with our loved one. In the past, we related to our loved one as parent or sibling or child. While there will be times we can, for brief periods, enjoy these relationships, in order to provide care, we must add a new role, caregiver. I noticed this dichotomy during a time where I was almost distraught to the point of finding myself not wanting to visit her. It had become too painful to see her without her teeth. She was in the late stages and had lost the understanding and ability to wear dentures. When her set disappeared, I grieved at her appearance. One day, arriving a little late after work for a visit, the aides were already gathering the residents to help them make their way to the dining room. Standing near the door, I watched Kathy approach my mom with a broad smile. "How Edith," she said, and brought her walker around. "You look great today. Here's your walker. Let's stand up." Gently, she escorted my mother to the nearby dining room. Mom smiled broadly and said, "Thank you." Kathy interacted with my mother at her current level. Her lack of previous history and emotional ties allowed her to lovingly engage with my mom. I realized I needed to adopt that mindset. Mom was happy and content. I had already requested softened and cut up food. She had no problems eating or talking or interacting without her teeth. The problem lay with my expectations. Aware that if my father had to have been the one to care for her, he would have been devastated, as it bothered him when she didn't wear her teeth. I recalled how when I homeschooled our sons, I had had to take the role of teacher. During school hours, I was not mom. I was teacher, and would grade their papers, make them repeat sections they hadn't properly mastered. In short, I had to shed the loving, caring role of mother. This is especially important if your spouse develops frontotemporal dementia. If you can create for a brief time the emotional distance to make decisions that are best for your loved one, you will be better able to cope. For example, with these diseases, pacing, walking, and constant movement keeps their mind calm. One woman worked out an arrangement with a local convenience store on her husband's walking route. He had forgotten the concept of private ownership and the need to pay for items in a store. Each month, she paid for the candy bars he took during his walks. This was a wonderful community solution. Number 4, don't try to go it alone. Develop a support network. No one person can be on call 24/7, day in and day out. You must have a support network to survive. We can become protective of our loved one. Isolation is easy, but it can lead to burnout, which will render you unable to provide care to anyone, even yourself. One woman, leveraging local resources, family and friends, was able to care for her husband at home. Children and grandchildren helped with lawn mowing and house maintenance. Others made sure she had time to shop on her own and had everything she needed. She made good use of local resources for medical equipment and supplies. There are also the ones willing to listen and lend emotional support. We must share the burden. Number 5, take care of yourself. This follows with the last point. If we are trying to care for our loved one at home, we will need no less than 4 hours a week of getting away, downtime, going for a walk, or stopping by a coffee shop. resuming hobbies such as quilting or playing tennis, going to the gym for a workout class, or slip away to the basement or garage to complete a woodworking project. Something not related to our caregiving tasks that will allow ourselves to disengage, decompress, and refresh. Look for support groups or people who can listen, empathize, and encourage. Many have found journaling helpful. As one woman talked to God through her journal writing, solutions to vexing problems would come to her mind. The Holy Spirit was helping her find a way to handle troubling issues. We are not alone in this task. God has brought us to this point, and He will provide the resources, supports, and abilities if we seek for them, staying as close to Jesus as we can through this. Here's the short list: the 5 habits of successful caregivers. 1. Accept and grieve. 2. Educate yourself. 3. Develop a caregiving mindset. 4. Develop a support network. And 5. Take care of yourself. If you're interested in learning more about dementia caregiving, check out my book, Dementia Caregiving from a Biblical Perspective, Your Guide for the Journey. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, ChristianBook.com, and Westbound Press. Thanks for watching. Made possible thanks to my videographer and producer, my husband, Ralph Gable, creator of Electronics for the Inquisitive Experimenter, and one of my greatest supporters through the time of rendering care to my mom. I don't know how I would have done without his help. Thank you.